Hi, this is Dr. Geneva. Ignite to Impact. On this episode, we have a delightful conversation with Carla Feagan, motivational speaker and author of A Life Worth Living, The Journey of an Authentic Soul. Carla is a certified 7 Steps to Reprogramming Yourself coach, and we learn about some new tips to erase negative emotions overnight in order to reclaim your life from pain. So listen, as we learn from Carla about traumatic events in her childhood and how she transformed to be all she could be, including taking a nudist cruise.
Welcome to Ignite to Impact, a weekly podcast about next generation leadership and what it takes to make a difference at work, with family, and in your community. Get ready to be inspired as we pull back the curtain and dive into intimate and energetic conversations with achievers and doers who are in the trenches navigating workplace politics and influencing change. Get ready to hear how leaders fail and get back up, learning how to keep it together while traveling in their leadership journey. Our mission: to help you with leadership tips and strategies that you can use to get fast results and help make your business, community, and world a better place. Now, here's your host, Master Leadership Strategist, Dr. Geneva Williams. So, let's ignite to impact.
Hi, this is Dr. Geneva, and welcome to another episode of Ignite to Impact. You know, one of the things I'm kind of proud about is that I do bring you some really phenomenal, exciting, stimulating, cool folks to have conversations with. And every week you join me in listening to those conversations. Well, I am just so delighted to bring you from Mexico, Carla Feagan, who is a motivational speaker, a 7 Steps coach, and we'll find out what those 7 steps are, and author of A Life Worth Living, The Journey of an Authentic Soul. And so I'm just so happy to have her with us. And, you know, because I believe what Carla's going to share with us is so wonderful, so deep, I'm going to just jump right in so we can get started on this conversation. Hi, Carla. How are you?
I am doing wonderful, Dr. Geneva. Thank you so much. And how are you today?
I'm great. And I understand we were just talking that where you are, it's a little rainy down there.
It is. We've had a tropical storm, I think, for the last 5 days. So it's thundering and there's some rain going on. But it's okay. It's still paradise. I'm not complaining.
Oh, great. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, listen, Carla, can you give first, if we could start off, let our listening audience know a little bit about you, about Carla.
Okay, well, I actually had a little bit of a tragic upbringing. When I was, my childhood was rife with, there was sexual, emotional, physical abuse and neglect. And that started around the age of 9. And that led to depression and anxiety and suicide attempts. I was also an extreme introvert with, very little ability of being able to talk to others. So that actually, that start of my life led to certain decisions I made and traumatic beliefs that I had within myself. Mm-hmm. And I actually, last year I decided to, I've been told since 2009 that I needed to write a book because life has been given to me and lessons have been shown to me in order to how to overcome tragic circumstances, and other people needed to hear that they're not the only ones that have had bad things happen to them, and that there are ways out, and that there are ways of being able to see the decisions that you made throughout your life, where they came from. And I think with that knowledge, you're allowed to, you can get a better understanding of yourself, of the people around you. You're able to forgive, because a lot of people stay within that realm of being angry at what happened. And the only thing that does is it harms yourself. It doesn't harm anyone else. So the path is definitely to move towards the ability of being able to forgive and understand and look at your life as a series of lessons rather than traumatic instances. And that's what I've done. And truly, the writing of the book was very cathartic, and I think people need to hear the message, because there's a lot of people who are not very happy in their lives, and they're all keeping it inside. And I think because of maybe shame and because of what the culture or what our society, puts up, we have to push it down. We have to pretend to be happy.
Yes.
And that ends up in, as we've seen within the last, week or so, it ends up in pretty tragic circumstances when people push down their pain and not let it out and not give it a way out, or look for a way of being able to understand and forgive to release what's inside.
And I guess when you talk about what's happened recently, you're referring to the celebrities who have committed suicide.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to unpack that a little. I guess kind of with two questions. One is, you mentioned transforming the traumatic events to lessons. I'd like you to say a little bit about that. And then I thought I heard you as you were describing several things that occurred to you. One of them was suicide attempts. So could you talk about either one or both of those?
Definitely. I can talk about both of those because they're both related.
Okay.
Funny enough. So in all reality, my first suicide attempt was at the age of 9. And, as I was writing my book, there was a whole bunch of poetry that flowed out of me. And part of it was that how does someone at the age of 9 even understand what suicide is, or get to that point of thinking that it's better to try that than to keep living? And I've been plagued with depression and suicide attempts. Luckily enough, I've always had the strength and the power within me to not fully go through with it, or if I did try something, to go and get help. And that's part of where, turning the traumatic events in your life into lessons rather than keeping them as traumatic events, because that was a part of my healing process. Because we can all look back and find the different pieces of our life that we're not very happy with, that we were maybe treated really badly, or, and scarred because of it changed something inside us. It gave us belief systems that weren't good for us. Like a big one for me, and I think for a lot of people, is the I'm not worthy.
Okay. Is that what you were feeling when you were 9 years old?
Definitely. The I'm not worthy, I'm not loved. I started being sexually abused at that time as well, so that I'm only good for sexual acts. A lot of those belief systems that, by being able to piece my past together, I was able to really understand what those were. And I think it's with that awareness allows change to happen. What most of us do is we just push it down. We get that feeling. We get triggered. We get that feeling. It might be in the pit of our stomach or on our throat or in our heart. But we get that feeling, and as soon as we feel that uncomfortable feeling, we push it down. And we never, ever really deal with any issues that are happening. But it's the awareness of, yes, there's things that are going on inside myself, things that have happened to me in the past. I need to be aware of them. I don't need to relive them or go through them again, but I need to be aware of them so that I can make positive changes, so that I can change that traumatic event into what did I need to learn at that time? What was the lesson that was being given to me?
So, needless to say, Carla, that's a very, emotionally intelligent place that you're at now, it seems, to be able to look at traumatic events that happen, not push down, but really try to pull out what was learned. I'm assuming you didn't get to this point that you're at now, this very emotionally intelligent place overnight. So what was it? How did you get to the point that you're at now? What happened?
You're 100% right. Just so that you know, I'm 53 years old now, so okay. I've led a full life, and I actually pushed everything down and never talked about any of my past until I gave birth to my daughter, which was when I was around 29, and that was really as soon as I gave birth to her, within, I would say, 24 hours, I'm holding this beautiful bundle of joy, and all of my past experiences just came rushing at me like a volcano. All of those things that I pushed down, because I'm holding this little girl and going, how could anyone hurt this tiny little being? And so I fell into a deep postpartum depression, which I was forced to seek help. It wasn't that you can, a push down thing. I saw doctors and therapists, and I got put on antidepressants, and I went to group therapy sessions, and this is the first time that anything about my past came out. And as soon as I started talking about it within group therapy, I immediately started feeling a release. Because it was in a safe environment that was non-judgmental, it allowed me to release the shame over talking about it. Although society as a general still had this thing of, you put your mask on and everyone wants to see you happy. I actually found some friends after that I got the courage in order to sit down with a friend and tell her what happened and tell her my story. And she actually came back and she told me her story. And at that point I realized I wasn't the only one. And I felt relief. And I felt relief, and I felt the shame moving away, and I felt vulnerable, but it was in a safe environment. So that was the start of me, looking for help and looking for guidance. And I did go the traditional way with psychologists and doctors and, counselors. And I also went a little bit of a different way as far as looking more spiritually. And more spiritually in regards to knowing that there's energy inside me and that I need to take ownership of my own feelings. Because as an abused person, I also became an abuser because I got triggered. Something happens, I get triggered, and I blow up like a volcano. And I figured I had every right to be hurt or feel those emotions, so I would blame other people. Not understanding that those emotions are coming from deep within inside myself, the emotions that I've never really dealt with. So that was another aha moment, was realizing that I need to sit down and I need to figure out where this anger is coming from. Because while there might be a reason that I have a valid reason for getting upset, the reaction was not valid. The reaction was coming from ingrained pain and trauma that I've never dealt with. Even though I had talked about it, there's another step to be able to go inside and start releasing that so that you can stop getting triggered.
And learning new behaviors when those emotions would pop up, I assume was part of the process too.
Exactly. I mean, I think the first step is loving yourself enough to being non-judgmental with yourself and allowing yourself to have the feelings that you're feeling. But then becoming aware of the patterns that are happening within your life that are results of the trauma. And with that awareness, now you can go and you can enact change. So I spent a lot of time doing a lot of different research in regards to how to release those past traumas and how to change those ingrained belief systems about myself. And it was quite a journey from the age of 29, and I'm 53 now, and and I'm still working on residual triggers, but I'm aware of them, and I have tools now. So if I get that, I know what my triggers are, and I have to say the very best experience ever is to know a trigger, and then and something someone said or something someone did, and then sit there and wait for your reaction and to not have one. I will actually sit there and I will go, okay, this is a trigger. It's a big trigger. I know it's a big trigger. Okay, so where in my body am I feeling it? Because I become aware of, the emotional residue within my body.
Yes.
So I said, okay, but it usually happens in my stomach, and my stomach's okay. My throat usually tightens, and my throat's okay. So where are the emotions coming? I'm waiting for them, and they don't come. And that is the point that you go, oh, my gosh, this is so worth it.
Yes. And, Carla, that certainly is a process. To be able to get to, as you described, again, that level of emotional maturity, and you probably aren't completely there, or you probably still striving and all that, but just to get to the point that you are now, and I think I understand why you're part of the title of your book is The Journey, a life worth living, the journey of an authentic soul, because it sounds like it really was a process that you went through.
Exactly, and it was. And it took a long time for me to do research in regards to, what kind of modalities and tools I could utilize in order to release and let go. And while I was doing that, I was also learning different modalities and tools to utilize in everyday life, such as how to make guilt-free decisions.
Now, how do you do that?
Well, and it's actually a really easy process. So because I used to always beat myself up really bad about decisions that I made. So I go, so how can I stop that? So if there's an important decision that I need to make, I'll actually stop myself, calm myself down, like get into more of a meditative mode. And I go, okay, so this is a decision I need to make. This is what I've decided, and do I know everything that I need to know right here and now in order to make this decision? If the answer is yes, then I'll go and make the decision. So what that does is it does an actual check-in. Is there anything else I need to know? Do I have all of my information? Is this the best decision I can make right now? I make the decision. Even if 3 minutes after I get information that's different, I already know I made the best decision I could at that time, and I don't beat myself up. What I do is I work with the information that I have, and I make another decision moving forward. And it's because I did that check-in, and I knew that this was the best decision, because before it was like, okay, I'm making a decision, and I'm going to hope and pray that it's going to be the best one. And it's not. Then you go, oh, you didn't make the best decision. What were you doing? And it's like, no, I checked in. I know it was the best decision because it was everything I knew at that time. And that's all that we can ever do, and there is absolutely no way you can beat yourself up if you do that check-in before.
A check-in. So is that one of your 7 steps to reprogramming yourself? I understand you're certified in that process.
I am, and actually it's a process that's not one of the 7 steps. That's a Carla Feagan step, but the 7 steps is actually a certification process that actually takes you back into specific patterns or specific traumas, and it allows you to be able to release it. There's a lot of scientific proof around this methodology that allows you to release and let go of the emotions that are surrounding a particular event or trauma or pattern. And this is something that I'm a pretty big skeptic, because I've got a pretty large logical mind behind me. I'm not like all spiritually, like, it's not that, I hear something and I believe it automatically. I need to have it proven to me. And so when I started utilizing this on myself, I was amazed at the results in regards to being very anxiety-ridden over a subject one day to the next day having complete release and actually feeling way better the next day.
So can you give us an example of that? How, particularly like with anxiety, how can you the next day, be anxiety stressed one day and then the next day not be?
And that's actually by following these 7 steps.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually 7 steps that you take, and there are 7 steps that allows you to get into the root and the emotions of the problem. And what it does is there's a way of canceling out each of those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
That around. So you don't have to relive it. You don't have to think about what happened again. What you do is you get back into the memory and you talk about the emotions that were happening at that time. Mm-hmm. And most of those emotions come out with like, oh, I am bad, you're not worthy, or it could be no, no, no. Something that you were saying or stating, but it's all a part of those emotions. So as you're going through those, there's a method that you use in order to cancel each one of those negative emotions out. And then you keep doing that until you get to a place of neutrality where you can think about that memory and there's no more emotions because you just canceled them out. And then you refill your cup with positive emotions. Mm-hmm. And there's a few more steps during the day that you need to do. And then the last step is the next morning after you've done the releasing is you go back and you check on yourself. You think about that memory and you see what emotions come up. More often than not, there are no more emotions left. And if they are, they're very few and far between. And then you just do the 7 steps again and you just cancel those out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's actually on my website, there's about 30 minutes of testimonials from people that have utilized the 7 steps and how it's worked for them. So it's not just me, and I can give you examples of how I've utilized it now, how it's changed me overnight.
Yeah.
In regards to.
Well, that would be great. So let me just say to our listening audience, if you're just joining me, this is a very moving, inspirational conversation with Carla Feagan, who is a coach specializing in the 7 steps to reprogramming yourself, a motivational speaker, and author of A Life Worth Living, The Journey of an Authentic Soul. And we were just talking about her 7 steps, and of course you can go on her website and see testimonials and get more information. But I think she was just about to give us perhaps a little peek or a little example of one of or something about how it can work for us.
Definitely. And so this actually happened just like a few weeks ago. So I had, everyone's got issues around money. And a lot of the issues are about not having enough. So I had just done a couple of things that there was a lot of money that was going out of my bank account, and I just received another credit card bill, and I'm going, oh my gosh. And so I'm doing my bank statements, and I'm looking at my bank account, and I'm going, and I see what the balance is, and I go, oh, that's wonderful. I have enough money to last me till the end of July. And there was that big pit in my stomach, and there's all that anxiety coming through. Because I do believe that the universe provides, but I still have those anxiety moments of, oh my gosh, look at, I have, where it's going. And I know and this is a trigger that that happens a lot, and I think it happens to everyone when they're in a situation where money's not necessarily plentiful. And so I was actually I was starting to learn, I had already been certified, and so I just said, okay, so, I do not want to sit in this energy all day, so I said, I'm going to release it. And so I did the 7 steps, and right after, and it took me maybe about half an hour to go through all of the emotions surrounding, my lack of money, which is the perpetual pattern that, we sometimes have.
Mm-hmm.
And I already felt lighter after going through all of those emotions that I was feeling because of that lack of. I went to bed. I reread the emotions and the positive feelings. The next morning, I woke up and I checked into myself. I checked into the areas where I have those emotions within my body, and there was nothing. In actuality, I woke up with more vibrancy than I had over the last 2 or 3 weeks. And it was like there was just a knowledge or a knowing that the money was not an issue. And because I do believe that the universe provides what we exude. And if we're exuding what I was feeling the day before, which was I have a lack of money, it's going to bring me a lack of money. And it's not going to. So by being able to release that, I actually felt extremely good. And there was absolutely no worry about the money whatsoever. And that's where you can allow the universe to take over and, coming from not a lack of, but a belief that I am financially abundant. I don't care what my bank says. I am financially abundant, and I have that belief, and it's coming through every pore.
Yes. And so these steps really are about thinking, rethinking, rediscovering, kind of diving deep into yourself and doing some positive thinking to kind of erase a lot of the negativity that goes on. Am I getting the idea of it?
Yeah, and it's not necessarily even a diving deep or having to relive. It's just like the emotions that are around that area. I do give free consultations. You can book them on the website, and during that 15 minutes, half an hour, or whatever, I'll go into a lot more depth into how it works, because it does take a little bit more of time and explanation, and you have to have a belief that it's going to be able to work for you.
Yes.
And I think because of my past, I've got huge empathy, and I am very non-judgmental. And I think you need to be, any type of help that you're getting from anyone, you need to be 100% comfortable with who you're working with and have belief that it is possible.
Yes.
And because I utilize it on myself, and I have been through what I have been through, I've got the ability of being able to empathize and give that non-judgmental space and the ability of someone, because sometimes if you still feel that shame and you don't feel comfortable in opening up, you're never going to get all those emotions out.
Yes, and your book, I'm sure, is that, looking at all of the abuse and that you've shared with us, and because you have gone through that, you've learned a lot, particularly, as you said, look at your traumatic events and then turn them into something, where you can learn lessons. And I'm hearing that these are the lessons that you share with others to help others. So what are you doing now to help others who have had this traumatic past? You're bringing them into your 7-step program?
Definitely. So I'm here to hold a safe space so that others can understand and release the shame and become vulnerable and take the first steps. Everyone's at a different point, but I think most people are only now learning to be able to let go of that shame and to find someone that they can talk to and without judgment. I think that's one of the things that we don't have the biggest in this society, because everyone's on their cell phones and everyone's on their computers. And everyone's too busy to listen. And you know what? You don't want to bother someone else with what you're feeling inside. So I'm there to hold the safe space and to guide you through the steps of being able to release. And maybe be able to give them some little tidbits on how they can find the good in every day and how they can get a better quality of life while also doing the releasing.
Yes, that is so, so important. And Carla, I know that in your write-up, you also talk about different ways that you've, again, gone on this journey, this process, and one of them involved a cruise. Tell us about that.
Okay, so remember I said that I was an extreme introvert at heart?
Yes.
And I still am, but I knew that I wasn't going to survive in this world unless I put myself into situations that forced me to talk to people. So I'm a very good learned extrovert, and I got that way from doing exactly that. So if there's an opportunity that I had in front of me, if it was really pushing me out of my limits, then I'm all over it. And I think that was a learned trait. So when I had a very good friend who offered me a ticket on a Caribbean cruise, 10-day Caribbean cruise, and she was going to give it to me. So I was like, all over that. Yes, I'll take it. Then she says, however, it's a nudist cruise. There's going to be 2,000 naked people on the boat. I'm going, oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, another.
Did you go?
Well, yeah, I did.
Okay.
Well, I had a couple of months to think about it, and I figured out if 2,000 people on the boat, someone's going to have a worse body than me, so I'm going to go. Because we all have body issues. I had 2 babies, I breastfed, I've got stretch marks, and nobody sees, So, and it was one of the most, it increased my self-esteem by 2,000%.
Okay.
Because we all have body issues, and we all, there's, on a nude cruise, there's no Spanx, there's no push-up bras, there's no designer wear, there's no black clothes. Because everyone wears black clothes because it makes you look skinny. There's nothing. Everyone is there, and they're 100% pure, true, naked truth. And because this is a nudist cruise, those 2,000 people, this is their desired way of being. So they already have great body image issues, because you don't you don't go and do that if you don't. So I had 2,000 people teaching me how to get a better body image, because I'm looking around and they're not all perfect, and they're just regular people. And the other thing is, when you faced with everyone's stark reality, you start looking at people not so much for what they're wearing, which is skin, but for the personality inside. And their personality and their internal energy comes through so much more radiant. There was actually a study done a few years ago by someone in London, a doctor in London, about naturists, and they say that naturists have better body image, better self-esteem, and are happier in their daily lives because they're not worried about how they look.
So I assume this is, again, another part of the process of your discovery, of your healing, of your, as you said, certain areas, stepping out of your comfort zone, and so you explore and unpackage and put together all of those in your book?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must be a real, as you say, the journey of an authentic soul. Yes. So, Carla, what's next for you?
I am doing what's next. So my whole journey has been. In 2015, I quit my job, but I went traveling the world by myself for a year, and that was at the age of 50. And I learned so many lessons when I came back. I decided that I didn't want to go back to the regular world of, working a job just to get paid. I needed to do something that was going to help the world. I had no idea what it was when I initially got back. But I was led to, once again, write the book and then start the coaching and doing the motivational speaking, because I've learned a lot of lessons. I've got a lot of things in my past, both good and traumatic, and there's nothing better than being able to give from the soul to someone else that may have been in the position that you were in before.
Yes.
So it's giving back to the world. And so my life has turned from trauma and tragedy into waking up each morning with passion and positivity, with the intent of helping others to get to where you are.
Wonderful. Well, Carla Feagan, this has been an inspiring conversation, how you've now turned your life around, turned the negativity, the trauma that happened into this positivity and this wanting to help others, this hard-fought battle of healing and wholeness that one of your reviewers said about your book, and that your book is a picture of strength and self-redemption. And I just say congratulations to where you are now and all the things that will come forth. And we're just been delighted to have you here on Ignite to Impact.
Thank you so much. I am so honored and blessed to have been able to speak with you today. And everyone out there, everyone needs to know that, I mean, I am just one person, and if I can do it, everyone else can. Mm-hmm. And if I can give, I'm here to give some insight and some tips and tricks and some fast-track ability to be able to not have to wait 53 years in order to get to where I am. You can do it today. And it starts with making the decision that you're worth it, and everyone is worth it.
Starts with the decision that you're worth it. What a wonderful way to close out this time that just flew by. So we're going to have you back again, and you can share with us all of the next steps that you're continuing to make on your wonderful journey creating a life worth living. Thank you so much, Carla Feagan.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Ignite to Impact with your host, Dr. Geneva Williams, an award-winning executive, facilitator, and master leadership strategist. Dr. Geneva is passionate about inspiring others to get their own leadership on and empowering the next generation with leadership tools and tips to help make the world a better place. Sign up to download Dr. Geneva's audiobook on leadership. Get the show notes, links, and other resources at drgenevaspeaks.com. That's drgenevaspeaks.com. Thanks for listening. Please share this podcast to those in your community via Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Google+, and leave us a 5-star review in iTunes. When you do that, it helps others find the show better. Send your questions or comments to info@drgenevaspeaks.com and use the hashtag Ignite2Impact.